In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about political advertising strategies. Now, if you're a candidate or would like to be one or just involved with politics, I'm going to take the complicated and make it really easy and simple to understand. Stay with me. And I'm going to break this video down into 3 distinct sections. What you say, who you say it to, and how you say it. Stay with me. Starting with what you say. What is political advertising? It's disseminating information to voters that inform them, that educate them, and persuade them that you are the best candidate. It is what we call a campaign message. And a campaign message has 5 elements, and you need to put every single one in, or you don't have a great campaign message. What are they? Well, number 1 is, what are you going to do for the people in your jurisdiction? What problems are you going to solve? What wrongs are you going to right? How are you going to elevate their quality of life? How are you going to do it? Are you going to fix their schools? Are you going to solve a crime problem? Are you going to bring more jobs to your community? That is the offer that you put on the table. Recognize that you are merely a means for voters to get what they want. You have to tell them what they get by voting for you. Piece number 2 is voters need to know a little bit about your moral code and what makes you tick. And over the course of the campaign, they expect you to tell them your notions of right and wrong and good and evil, the kinds of people you care about. They need to know that your values are in sync with theirs and that you care about the same things they do. Element number 3 of your campaign message is what makes you qualified to do the job. What can you tell voters about things that you have done in your life that suggest to them that you can handle this responsibility and make difficult decisions on their behalf? Have you raised a family? Have you held a job? Have you started a small business? Did you serve your country in the military? Have you led an important community or civic organization? Did you solve a vexing problem in a community, and did everybody live happily ever after because of the solution you put on the table? All of these, in the eyes of voters, make you a qualified candidate, someone capable of doing the job. They need to know just enough about you to be satisfied that you can do the job. Element number 4, it's a question that voters will have for you that during the course of the campaign you find a way to answer. It is voters asking you, how do I know I can trust you? During the course of the campaign, if you answer that question, they will. Now, you don't just stand there and say, well, yeah, you can trust me. No, you don't do it that way. You tell a story about a time in your life when you encountered something that made you passionate about fixing a problem that is relevant to them. Here's an example. I was once talking with a candidate for the U.S. Senate, and we were doing this long talk about his background and his life. And I asked him, his name was Koo. He was Asian. I asked Koo, what's the earliest memory of anything that you remember about your life? And he says, it was cold water running over my butt. I said, Koo, where were you? And he says, I was in the Mekong River. I said, what were you doing there? He says, well, we were escaping Laos. You see, my father had sided with the Americans during the Vietnam War. And when the communists took over Laos, they were assassinating anybody who had done that. And we knew that Dad was going to be on the list, and he knew it. And one night he became so afraid that they were going to be in the neighborhood that he gathered all of us together and said, tonight were going to walk toward the Mekong River. He left his cattle and his farm behind, and for 3 days we walked through the jungles of Laos to get to the Mekong River. And it was the middle of the night when we got there, and he tied us all together with a rope, and we waded across the Mekong River, and that's where I remember the water rolling over my back end. He said when we got there, we were put in a refugee camp. We lived there for 7 years, and then one day a man came along, and he said, would you like to go live in America? And of course my father said yes. We were flown to Los Angeles, my first ride in a car. It was my first taste of Coke. It was the first time I'd ever seen a toilet flush. And he said, that's what happened when I was at a young age. And I said, Koo, what relevance does that story have to the voters in your state? And he said, Jay, everything I have, the business I started, the college degree I got, the family that's with me, I owe to the United States of America. And I can't tell you how important it is that the United States preserve this wonderful democracy that has made all of this possible, not just for me, but for millions around the world who depend on the United States to protect their freedom and their liberty. Nothing, Jay, is more important than making the American democracy work. That was Koo's story. He talked about an episode in his life and how he became passionate about fixing a problem that was relevant to the voters in his state. After he told that story, I watched him do it to certain audiences and in a video, and I could see from the reaction, people who heard that story trusted him to do the right thing when they were not looking. The fifth element of your campaign message is your ability to clarify the choices on the ballot between you and your opponent, or you and the other people who are also running for the same office. To clearly state in easy to understand terms, why you, not them? What makes you better for the people in your state than the people who are running against you? So those are the 5 elements of a campaign message that encapsulates what you need to say during the course of an advertising campaign. The second item I mentioned is who you're going to say it to, and that comes down to your targeting. There are lots of voters in jurisdictions. You need to take a look at the data, and you need to start sorting people into bits and pieces in this data that you're going to appeal to. So here in its most basic form, it is this: certain people in your jurisdiction are not going to vote for you no matter what you say. So figure out who those people are, get rid of them, don't spend any money trying to reach them because you're not going to get their vote. And then there are 2 remaining segments of the population here. Those who could be persuaded to vote for you if you persuade them to do so, and those who will vote for you if you get them out to vote. That's elemental one-on-one figuring out your targeting. But it is a key component of a political campaign, because with the data that is available now to political candidates, you can slice and dice people in the electorate with very fine-tuned niche messages for niche audiences and make a special appeal to them based upon their concerns. So, for example, mothers with young children who may be in need of daycare, elderly senior citizens who perhaps live alone, talking about what you can do to make sure that they have health care, and talking about what you can do to make sure that they have home care when they need it. Segments of the population that may be in their 40s and 50s that speak to special concerns that they have during that period of life, like good schools for their children or social mobility so that they can find better jobs. pieces of your electorate that may have only graduated high school and need extra job training to make a better wage and earn a better living. Data allows you to do that now, and it didn't 20 years ago. Now, if you're wondering where to find this kind of data, put your question in the comments section, ask me, and I will tell you where to find it. That's the second component of an advertising strategy. Here is the third one, and that is deciding how you are going to disseminate this information to voters. Now, in small jurisdictions, you can do it by hand with a grassroots organization. You go knock on doors. You find people who are willing to put up your yard signs. You have some volunteers drop literature in a certain neighborhood. You canvass. You go to shopping centers and hand out stuff. That is what you call a ground operation. It's inexpensive to do. All it does is take a lot of shoe leather and elbow grease. However, if you're in larger jurisdictions, you're going to have to advertise. So here's the most expensive way to advertise: commercial television. But it doesn't make sense for candidates running in small jurisdictions. Sometimes in smaller jurisdictions where you can't do commercial television, it's more economical to use persuasion mail to reach voters. There are more granular means of doing this, one of which is paid advertising on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Facebook and Instagram allow you to upload a list of targeted voters and advertise to only their eyeballs with an ad about a niche issue that may be of concern to them. There is also digital advertising that firms know how to do, where we can track people and their websites that they're looking at, target them by IP address, and serve them banner ads as they're scrolling the news in the morning. This is technology as it exists in our day and age. Your competitors have access to it. You might as well use it as well. There's another one I'm going to mention here because it also works in conjunction with your paid advertising, and that is the candidate. In the words that come out of a candidate's mouth, what the candidate says in speeches, what the candidate says in debates, what the candidate says in podcasts or radio interviews, even the doors that a candidate knocks on when they're campaigning. That works in conjunction with the advertising. If you put organic social media posts up on Facebook and Instagram, it suggests to voters that the candidate is out there engaged and working, which works symbiotically with an advertising campaign. This is the nuts and bolts of an advertising strategy. Now, if you would like to know more, I have two things for you today. One is, if you're thinking about running for office, I have a free ebook in the link below this video, 12 Essential Steps to Prepare for a Political Campaign. If this is your first time, that information is gold. Download it, go read it. The second thing is, I'm going to suggest another video that you should consider watching. How to use social media in a political campaign. It has become so important to get candidates off the ground that I did a special step-by-step video on that, and there's a lot more information on that subject in the next video than I've covered in the video today. So grab a pencil, go watch the video, and take notes.